Real News Network. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Jerry Kelley, and this is Realnewsalways. Welcome to my channel. I got a good one for y'all today. This guy goes by the name of Anomaly. He is a hip-hop artist, plus he does news analysis and breaks down news facts with their own rules and their own laws that they write, proves them wrong, and this is a good one. He said we need to talk about that's the name of this video. So without further ado, go to this guy's channel, Anonymly, show him love. Subscribe to my channel if you're not from my channel. And for the people that are from my channel, thank you a lot for your subscription. And let's roll this clip of Anonymly. We need to talk about the V word. Alright.
We have to talk about the V word. The New York Times, as Israel reopens, whoever does not get vaccinated will be left behind. New government and business initiatives are moving in the direction of a two-tier system for the vaccinated and unvaccinated, raising legal, moral, and ethical questions. They're doing a two-tiered system. Get the vaccine, come on in. Don't get it? Not so easy, Jack, or Jill, or Mr. Potato Head. It's looking like it's going to make its way to the United States too. Just in the news, vaccine passport app for large stadiums and arenas tested in New York, of course. And this is tough to talk about because social media is cracking down on this type of stuff. AP, Twitter starting to remove COVID-19 vaccine misinformation. Reuters, YouTube bans coronavirus vaccine misinformation. ABC News, Facebook announces plan to remove vaccine misinformation content. And according to that article, that includes on Instagram, in addition to surfacing authoritative results in search, in the coming weeks, we're making it harder to find accounts in search that discourage people from getting vaccinated. So it looks like they're making misinformation into an unlimited goalpost of people who just don't want it. I guess maybe like Wendy Williams when she had a debate with Dr. Oz. I don't know exactly what that means, but they're purposely broad so they could censor whoever they want. And I want to say a few things. First of all, everything I'm going to say today is going to be sourced from the FDA, mainstream media articles. I'm going to source and show everything I'm talking about. I'm not an anti-vaxxer. This is not a conspiracy theory. I'm going to tell some inconvenient facts that Facebook, YouTube, Google, Twitter, and the mainstream media are trying to cover up, not because they care about the truth, because they care about power and control. I pray that they do not take down my social media pages that I've worked 10 plus years to build, and I've been defamed by these fact checkers before. They've actually lied about what I said. In a video where I accurately sourced data, they claim that on the day that I published the article that I was wrong and they weren't the numbers, which they lied about, and I have proof of that, so I would think that that's defamation. So if they do take down my page or channel, which I don't think they will, but they might, I will do everything in my power to prove to whoever I have to that these people are full of baloney. But we have to talk about the V word. They're starting a two-tiered system in this world where if you get it, you're allowed to go places, and if you don't get it, you're not allowed to go places. How could we not talk about it? And there's one thing that politicians on the left and the right seem to agree with, which is it's Willy Wonka's golden ticket to giving you your freedom back. Listen to former President Trump recently at CPAC make the astonishing claim that hundreds of millions of people would have died if he didn't Operation Warp Speed and lockdown. I don't even know if the most bullish liberals would make this statement. Take a listen.
Can you imagine if you had to go through what all of the countries of the world who are now getting the vaccine or soon will be getting it from various companies, but can you imagine if all of those countries had to go through what they've been going through over the last year? You'd lose hundreds of millions of people.
What? And I get a lot of heat from people who support him. I mean, I voted for him, I'm gonna be honest. They think it's only the governors, but Trump has not really been a freedom fighter. He's always defended the lockdown, and he's always been bashing countries like Sweden that for months went for herd immunity and decided not to mandate masks and lock down. Listen.
What's wrong with having to close it down? We saved millions of lives. You know, a lot of people say we should have gone herd. Let's go herd. Ask him, how are they doing in Brazil? He's a great friend of mine. Not good. You heard about Sweden, right? 2 months. Ask him how they doing in Sweden. We saved millions of lives.
This seems to be the only time the left wing and the right wing gets along, when they start a new war, or when it comes to these products that they're dishing out to the masses.
How do I find out if I can get a vaccination?
George, you got to go to myturn.ca.gov.
Wait a minute. Thank you, Governor.
It's wonderful to be of service, George.
If I wasn't president, you wouldn't have a vaccine for 5 years, okay? I pushed the FDA and companies and everybody else involved like nobody's ever been pushed before, and now you have it rolling out. And frankly, they could have done it last week. They could have even done it a week sooner, and they heard from me. But this has been a really medical miracle. They call it a medical miracle. And it's going to have a tremendous impact. 95% effective. We have Moderna coming out next week very soon. We have Johnson & Johnson, a one-shot vaccine coming out. All great companies.
What about it?
Don Jr., the freedom fighter, another incredible breakthrough with the COVID-19 vaccines. Thanks, Donald Trump, for all the efforts that you put into making this happen. Tate Reeves, the governor of Mississippi, said starting tomorrow, we're lifting all our country mask mandates in businesses. You know, he said the vaccine's available. Now you could be free. Governor Abbott of Texas, who recently lifted the mask mandate and opened businesses, which I would say not so much because a lot of these liberal corporations and cities aren't going to listen to him, just like they don't in Florida, but listen to him saying he's going to use the National Guard to distribute and collect information. Take a look.
The state will deploy more than 1,100 National Guard across the state to help communities vaccinate homebound seniors. Some National Guard will be involved in the identification and registration of the seniors in the community to get them on the list to be able to get the vaccine. Other National Guard will be involved in the vaccination process. This effort begins this coming week.
So from Cuomo to Trump to Don Jr. to DeSantis to DMC promo rap videos, pretty much everyone agrees this product's the real deal.
I got the vaccine, you got the vaccine, they got the vaccine, we got the vaccine. We can get back to normal, let me inform you, let's all get the vaccine.
And what I'm going to do is go directly to the FDA.gov website and tell people information that's published for everybody to see. You could literally do this yourself and report things that I haven't seen anybody else report, just for the sake of getting this real information out there. So please don't censor me. Please don't fact check me. I don't need to be fact checked. In fact, I should probably be fact checking the fact checkers, because every time they fact check me, they say fact check, the CDC never said that. And I posted a CDC quote with a CDC article. So not only are they completely out of control, but I'm not sure how they get away with it. Anyway, let's go. So if you type FDA Moderna fact sheet, the Moderna is one of the biggest mRNA vaccines that's out right now. You can follow along with me. Click the first one. It says Moderna COVID-19 vaccine EUA fact sheet 4, and it goes right to the FDA website. So I'm just going to read it straight off the FDA.gov website. The Moderna COVID-19 vaccine is a vaccine and may prevent you from getting COVID-19. There is no U.S. Food and Drug Administration FDA approved vaccine to prevent COVID-19. Wait, what? The Moderna COVID-19 vaccine is an unapproved vaccine that may prevent COVID-19. There is no FDA-approved vaccine to prevent COVID-19. Under it, the FDA has authorized the emergency use of the Moderna COVID-19 vaccine to prevent COVID-19 in individuals. So it's unapproved, but it has emergency authorization. Just for the record, President Trump was bullish on this when he had a Twitter account, trying to get the FDA to rush it even faster.
I pushed the FDA. I pushed the FDA. I pushed the FDA.
I guess he wanted credit for it or something. I don't know. Back to the fact sheet. It says the Moderna COVID-19 vaccine has not undergone the same type of review as an FDA approved or cleared product. The FDA may issue an EUA when certain criteria are met, which includes that there are no adequate approved and available alternatives. So that's the justification for them giving this an emergency authorization. Did you know that? Before last week, I didn't know that. Once again, don't censor me and fact check me. This is straight off the FDA website. Why they would even censor a video like this? For the people that claim that they're fact checkers and facts, sometimes when you bring up the facts, they get upset. They don't want people to know all the facts, just some facts that fit their narrative. So here's another Google search you can do. Follow along. I was looking for a CNBC article, so I said Pfizer Moderna liability CNBC, COVID-19 vaccine. You can't sue Pfizer or Moderna over side effects. There's a bunch of articles over it, so we click this this one. Let's read the headline. You can't sue Pfizer or Moderna if you have severe COVID vaccine side effects. The government likely won't compensate you for damages either. Once again, this is not a conspiracy theory. This is not fake news. This is not misinformation. This is true information. This is real. This is factual. This is in legislation. This is math. This is science. This is all of it. Please don't censor this video unless you're a total liar. So let's learn about why by reading the article. Under the PREP Act or the PrEP Act, companies like Pfizer and Moderna have total immunity from liability if something unintentionally goes wrong with their vaccines. A little-known government program provides benefits to people who can prove they suffered serious injury from a vaccine. That program rarely pays, covering just 29 claims over the last decade. So, yeah. If you experience severe side effects after getting a COVID vaccine, lawyers tell CNBC there is basically no one to blame in a U.S. court of law. The federal government has granted companies like Pfizer and Moderna immunity from liability if something unintentionally goes wrong with their vaccines. It's very rare for a blanket immunity law to be passed, said Raj Dunn, a Dallas labor and employment attorney. Pharmaceutical companies typically aren't offered much liability protection under the law. I'm going to get into more of that later. You also can't sue the Food and Drug Administration for authorizing a vaccine for emergency use, nor can you hold your employer accountable if they mandate inoculation as a condition of employment. Congress created a fund specifically to help cover lost wages and out-of-pocket medical expenses for people who have been irreparably harmed by a covered countermeasure such as a vaccine, but it's difficult to use and rarely pays. Attorney says it has compensated less than 6% of the claims filed in the last decade. From the article, the quickest vaccine ever developed was for mumps. It took 4 years and was licensed in 1967. Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine was developed and cleared for emergency use in 8 months, a fact that has fueled public mistrust of the coronavirus inoculation in the US. And towards the end, it says, is anyone liable? Remember, vaccine manufacturers aren't the ones approving their product for mass distribution. That is the job of the FDA, which begs the question, can you sue the US government if you have an extraordinarily bad reaction to a vaccine? Again, the answer is no. You can't sue the FDA for approving or disapproving a drug. That's part of its sovereign immunity. So the vaccine companies have immunity, but do you? First of all, listen to your doctor or scientist. Of course, they'll tell you, and they'll tell you more as they go on. But a lot of what I just told you about the liability started from the NCVIA, which is known as the National Childhood Vaccine Injury Act, which was signed into law in the United States by President Ronald Reagan. Its purpose was to eliminate the potential financial liability of vaccine manufacturers due to vaccine injury claims. If you scroll down and check it out, it says in the United States, low profit margins and increased vaccine-related lawsuits led many manufacturers to stop producing the DPT vaccine in the early 1980s. By 1985, vaccine manufacturers had difficulty obtaining liability insurance, and because of this, Congress passed the NCVIA, and that is carried on to other stuff, such as the offshoot that's protecting the companies with this one. Once again, just speaking facts, somebody with eyes and a brain. I know they hate that. They don't want people who use their brain. They don't want people with critical thinking skills, and they don't want people like myself outside of their corporate structure to do real reporting that they won't do. In fact, I'm not really outside their corporate structure because with a click of a button, they could try to disappear every video that I've ever made, and they tend to do that whether it's justified or not. Most of the time it's not. But recently this was in the news and all over the television. This is the New York Times, trusted news of the mainstream media. Woman with cancer awarded billions in baby powder lawsuit. An appellate court in Missouri upheld more than $2 billion in damages against Johnson & Johnson, saying company knew there was asbestos in baby powder. And just in the news the last few weeks, this is Reuters, very mainstream, Johnson & Johnson set aside almost $4 billion for talc verdict filing shows. Drug maker Johnson & Johnson set aside $3.9 billion in litigation expenses in 2020, which it said was primarily associated with talc-related reserves and certain settlements. The company faces 25,000 lawsuits by former users of its baby powder who say asbestos-laced talc in the product causes their cancers, it said in its security filings here on Monday. So that's Johnson & Johnson, which just so happens to be one of the vaccines that's coming out to the public soon with the emergency authorization. And with this product, they have no liability. They're completely immune. I'm just speaking facts. I'm just speaking mainstream articles, but technically, if they wanted to be wicked deceivers and anti-factual people, they could claim, well, this video is technically undermining the support for the product that we want them to get, so it's not allowed. They could technically say that, even though that's not what I'm doing. I'm just covering news stories that they won't cover and explaining why I'm going to come to my conclusion at the end of what I want to do personally as a 31-year-old, extremely healthy, extremely athletic, athletic human being who hasn't been sick in 3 or 4 years because I take care of myself and I work out and I eat healthy and I get a decent amount of sunlight. Meanwhile, in this country, we have an obesity epidemic, we have a diabetes epidemic, and we have an opioid epidemic. And I find it very shocking that a lot of the industries that helped enable that problem are the ones who are telling me that they can tell me when and when I can't breathe air without a piece of cloth covering my breathing holes, or when I can go to the gym. I find it very shocking that they're able to do that, but that's the world we live in. I started seeing a lot of these health experts saying, well, even if you get the product we're telling you to get, still wear a mask, still social distance. So I started doing more research because I was like, man, a lot of people were hoping that this product would allow them to be free, would allow them to drop the fear, would allow them to go back to public events and concerts. That's what a lot of people were hoping. So I started doing more research and I found this Wall Street Journal article and it says, does getting the COVID-19 vaccine stop you from spreading it? Scientists don't know yet. Pfizer and Moderna are gathering more evidence about whether vaccinated people can still spread the virus. So according to that report, they're not even sure yet. It's not approved. It has emergency authorization and none of these companies are liable for anything bad that happens. And God forbid you even speak about it, even if you're as completely factual as I am, they'll censor you, silence you, and completely sweep it under the rug and act like it doesn't even exist. This is a recipe for disaster, authoritarianism, corruption. So I started doing more research like the Lyme disease vaccine. This is Mainstream News 2019 Atlantic. Why is there still no Lyme disease vaccine for humans? False starts and fear have kept such a drug off the market for 2 decades. In the article, it says from 1999 to 2002, SmithKline Beecham, now known as GlaxoSmithKline, sold a Lyme disease vaccine called Lymerix, but the company pulled Lymerix off the market after public backlash and a spate of lawsuits, so I guess they weren't covered from immunity, but now the companies are, so they don't have to worry about that. But hopefully we could just all follow the science, people who want to get it, and then we could get back to normal eventually, right? Well, not so fast. Biden and Fauci keep extending the goalposts and saying, I don't know, maybe later this year, maybe 2022. And then you had Forbes this week put out an article that said, report, world needs equivalent of pandemic lockdown every 2 years to meet Paris carbon emission goals. Imagine that. Imagine you follow all their rules, follow all their science, wear the mask, get 2 shots, and then in a few years they're like, well, actually now we need to do another lockdown every 2 years, not for your health and not for the COVID, but to meet the Paris carbon goals. Could you imagine? I'm not saying they're doing that, but they're starting to roll the ball in the mainstream press to suggest that that might be a good idea. What a joke these people are. And if you're smart or honest or common sense enough to figure out that freedom and liberty is okay and working out is good and eating healthy, stuff like that is real science too, they call you all sorts of crazy names. So let me know what you think in the comment section. Me personally, just being honest, I don't want to get it. I don't feel comfortable getting it because 1, I haven't been sick in 4 years. 2, I don't like a product from a company that has no liability. Meanwhile, the mainstream media and big tech sweeps everything else under the rug. Even 10, 20, 30 years ago, the media used to cover this stuff. They used to talk openly and accurately about what these companies were doing and any problems along the way. Now, it's a concerted effort from Republicans, Democrats, almost all mainstream press, Facebook, YouTube, and Google, which controls all the flow of information. Meanwhile, we're not allowed to go to concerts or group gatherings, so they literally control almost all of it, and there's no way around it. They don't want anybody to talk about it or have their own perspective or opinion. But that's my opinion. Your opinion, if you want to wear 2 masks and you want to get 2 shots, knock yourself out. I'm sure you'll be fine. I'm sure you'll live a happy life, and I wish you the best. But I'm getting tired of being treated like a prisoner and a slave, not being able to go to gyms, eventually maybe creating a 2-tiered system like Israel or like they're talking about in New York, where I'm not even going to be allowed to go anywhere anymore, not because I'm sick, but because I didn't get the emergency authorized product that has 0 legal liability, has virtually no media questioning it or doing real investigation into it, and everybody, including Mark Zuckerberg, knows that the quickest one they've ever got out to the public was 4 years. So if this one got emergency authorized in under a year, then what happens long term is yet to be decided. That's just a fact. That's the truth. So that's my thoughts. Let me know yours. Hopefully this doesn't get me censored. And thank you to everybody supporting on patreon.com/raretalk. I appreciate it. Thank you to everybody following on t.me/dreamrarechat. I appreciate that very much. Thank you to everybody on dreamrare.com buying hats and shirts. New ones coming soon. And thank you to everybody signing up to my free email list at stayintouchwithme.com. Without your support, I wouldn't be able to be here. And I pray that the fact checkers on Facebook and Instagram, and I pray that these people that are scoping me out, the mainstream media journalists that are just waiting for me me to slip or trying to lie about me, libel me, and defame me. I hope that they honestly look at this with an open mind and an open heart and realize what I'm doing is real journalism and real news reporting, and it's important because every single thing that I've said outside of my personal opinion about what I want to do with my body has been completely sourced, including mainstream liberal articles and the FDA website itself. Thanks again, have a beautiful day, and I'll be back with more videos soon.